Welcome, friends. Thank you for joining us once again. Today, we bring you a story that sounds like a scene from a movie but is meant to show the power of emotions, tension, and drama. This is a story about how, in just a few seconds, an entire world can change. The night in Mirnograd began quietly. The city slept, streets were empty, and the streetlights barely illuminated the old buildings. But behind this silence, a storm was brewing. On the outskirts, where an old military base stood surrounded by rusty fences, a tense calm prevailed. In the barracks, soldiers on duty checked their equipment. Some sipped coffee, others wrote letters home. No one knew what awaited them. A few kilometers away, a group of soldiers sat in darkness inside an armored vehicle. Their faces were stern, their eyes full of determination. The commander, a man in his 40s with a scar on his cheek, quietly said, "In 10 minutes, it all begins. We must act fast. We only have seconds." Time dragged painfully slowly. Hearts beat in sync with the second hand. Inside the vehicle there was a tense silence. Everyone understood that the outcome of the entire operation depended on their actions. At the base, the duty officer noticed a strange noise. At first, he thought it was the wind, but in an instant, the air was torn by a low, rising roar, like that of a monster. He ran into the yard and saw lights in the sky. The first missile struck the old hangar. The flash blinded everyone. Walls trembled. The ground shook. A second missile tore through the headquarters building. Glass shattered, sirens wailed, and panic erupted in the barracks. Soldiers ran outside, confused and unaware of the source of the attack. Fiery streaks lit up the sky. It seemed as if the darkness itself was being torn apart. In a matter of seconds, the entire base descended into chaos. Massive clouds of smoke rose into the sky. Headlights flickered through the flames. Someone shouted orders. Someone else called for comrades. The base commander tried to regain control. He yelled into the radio, "Everyone in position! Return fire!" But the connection crackled and broke. Explosions after explosions drowned out his words. On the other side of the field, amidst shadow and ash, the attacking group watched. Their faces were lit by the glow of fire. "Everything is going according to plan," said the commander, his voice cold and firm. Yet even at that moment, no one could predict the price that would be paid. Explosions brought death and chaos. People trapped inside fought for their lives. One soldier carried a comrade wounded by shrapnel. Another hid behind a concrete wall, breathing heavily and praying for it to end. In seconds, the base had turned into a blazing hell. Metal melted, roofs collapsed, vehicles exploded like toys. It seemed that even the earth itself trembled in pain. Outside in the city, residents woke to the roar. Children cried, adults ran into the streets in panic. From afar, they could see flames rising into the sky. Peaceful sleep had turned into a nightmare. People whispered, "What's happening? Is this the end?" The attack lasted less than a minute, but in that short time, only ruins remained of the base. Smoke darkened the sky. Fire devoured everything around. The silence that returned after the explosions was more terrifying than the roar itself. When the dust finally settled, the attacking commander removed his headset and said, "Mission accomplished. Let's move out." His voice was calm, but his eyes reflected the weight of what had been done. Amid the ruins stood the surviving soldiers. Their faces were covered with ash and blood. One looked up at the sky and whispered, "Why us?" Desperation echoed in his voice. The story of this attack is not just about destruction. It is a reminder of how fragile our world is. Just a few seconds can destroy what has been built over years. A single moment can change the fates of hundreds of people. This night in Mirnograd will forever remain in the memory of those who lived through it. For some, it was a test of strength. For others, the loss of everything. But for all, it was a lesson. War spares no one. Every time we hear about such events, we must remember, behind the dry words, attack, and a strike, lie the lives of real people. Soldiers who fought and fell, residents who prayed in the quiet of their homes. Children who could not understand why the night suddenly turned into a nightmare. This story is meant to ensure that we never forget the cost of destruction, to value peace when we have it, and to always ask ourselves, is a few seconds of power worth leaving behind only ashes and tears?